Festival and our Cajun Fiddling Workshop. This is going to be a time when you can hear from some of our great Cajun fiddlers and find out how they learn and what they do and where they play and how they play. And maybe they'll pass along a few little techniques to you. How many of you are beginners? Beginning fiddlers? How many of you would call yourself Cajun fiddlers? Anybody Cajun? Anybody country fiddlers? Anybody bluegrass fiddlers? Oh, we got a long culture gap to cover here. Let's see, anybody western swing fiddlers? Well,
I'm late. Can we keep our fiddles out of it?
This is not going to be a 1, 2, 3 kind of workshop thing, I don't think, unless that's what you guys had in mind.
No,
I'm Susan Roach. I'm a folklorist at Louisiana Tech, and I was asked to be a moderator for this, what I thought was a panel that's turned into a workshop, and we're just going to have a lot of fun with Cajun fiddle. So I'd like to introduce our fiddlers to you. We have David Greely, Gina Forsyth, Ken DeVee, and Terry Huval. And I'm going to let each one of them tell you a little bit of background, like where they're from, how they got into fiddling, and what they do with fiddling today. I know we have some fiddlers that play in some really big bands. So I'm going to let each one of them tell you about themselves, and as we go along, if you have questions, feel free to ask them. I think that'll be okay. And we'll probably get them to play a little bit. Maybe you can play along. Sure. So David, would you like to start? Just tell us where you're from and kind of how you came to fiddle, maybe. I think people would want to know that.
My name's David Greely, and I was born in Baton Rouge, raised in Denham Springs, Louisiana. And when I was 17 years old, I went to New Orleans to see Black Sabbath. And one of the bands that opened for them had an electric fiddle player in it. And I went, oh my God, I got to try that. So the next day, I went to a pawn shop in Baton Rouge and bought a Chinese plywood fiddle and 2 bows, took it to the house, tuned it wrong, made up several songs on it the first day. It was the easiest thing I ever tried to play. And then later on, I was digging into every style of fiddle playing I could. The whole time my family was really excited I'd started playing the fiddle because my grandfather was a Cajun fiddle player. His name is Eddie Terrier. And I was looking for Cajun music that I liked, but I hadn't found it yet. I ended up playing professionally, and I was in Nashville playing country fiddle, and I met Joel Saunier, who told me that I would probably enjoy hearing the Balfour Brothers. And he was right, because the first time I heard their records, I got totally obsessed with Cajun music. And I've been playing it ever since. I started a band with a guy named Steve Riley, and the band was called Steve Riley and the Mamu Playboys, and I played with them for 23 years, traveling all over the world, playing Cajun music.
My name's Gina Forsyth, and I'm among the 4 fiddlers here. I'm the one who's not originally from Louisiana. I was born in Florida and raised in Alabama, and I grew up on country music and listened to fiddle music all my life and loved it, and learned to play country fiddle. My brother was a Nashville musician, Bobby Harold, or Bobby, that was his stage name for Robert Forsyth. And he played in Nashville, and then he came home and he taught me a fiddle tune. There's an old fiddle tune that goes, the only song that I could play was Boiling Cabbage Down. That was the only song he could play. And so I learned how to play country fiddle tunes and Faded Love. And then I moved to Louisiana about 30 years ago, and I got obsessed with Cajun music through the Balfour Brothers, through Beau Soleil, and then later on delving into dance hall style fiddling with Aldous Roger and Tony Thibodeau. And I played with an all-girl band to start out with Cheryl Cormier, and then about 25 years ago, actually before that, I met a guy named Bruce Degerpol, who's an accordion player. And I've been playing with Bruce for the last 25 years in New Orleans. Until very recently, I lived in New Orleans, and now I now live in Breaux Bridge, Louisiana, and play a lot of dances with a lot of different folks.
Gina, aren't you playing with a band tonight?
I am playing with Hank Williams tribute. We were doing a tribute to Hank Williams with a guy named Hugh Harris, who is here today.
So, you playing Cajun fiddle with that?
It's going to be country. It's going to be Hank Williams songs.
Do you ever get mixed up between your Cajun and your country fiddling? How do you know which one? How do you?
I put a few country licks in there.
Hi, I'm Ken Davey from Church Point, Louisiana, Cajun Parish. Both my mother and father's families were musicians, so I was immersed at a very young age, 13, 14 years old, playing guitar, actually in Cajun bands and dance halls, which didn't allow, well, unlawful to have teenagers in there, but that was in the 60s, so it didn't matter then.
Wow.
And so I played with the Church Point Playboys, and a classmate of mine in Reggie Mott was the accordion player. We played for years together. And then I started playing bass guitar and took up fiddle as a hobby, and it's still a hobby. It's a work in progress, and I'm glad to be amongst these fine panel today to learn, as you will. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Terry Huval. I want to correct Gina. I was born in Texas.
Really?
Yes, I know. I lived there for a year and a half. Lost my Texas accent really early.
Where in Texas were you born?
In Port Arthur.
Yeah, okay.
It's almost like being born in Louisiana.
Yeah.
That don't count.
So I started playing guitar at 10 years old from a mail order catalog guitar and a 45 RPM record to show how to tune it and a little book. I didn't know how to read music, and so I started singing and playing by myself. But I was always fascinated with the fiddle, and when I was in college, I passed by a music store in Lafayette and bought a violin, a fiddle, for $49. It was a Chinese fiddle, in a cardboard box. And I went home and looked at the World Book Encyclopedia, which is what we had before we had the internet. And it just told me how to tune it. So I tuned it, and I put my bow across it, and it didn't make any noise. I mean, it's like it just kind of grew up there. So I went back to the store. I was really shy in those days. I said, "This thing's defective." And they said, "What you mean?" I said, "It doesn't make any noise." I said, "Well, did you put rosin on the bow?" I said, "Oh, that's what that means." And I started playing when I was in college, and I lost 2 roommates in the process. And I was playing bass in this band called Jambalaya. We had a 4-piece band. I was the bass player, and we were looking for a fiddle player. I went to La Pouchave one night in Breaux Bridge, and this guy was playing with Walter Mouton. And he was a young fella. He played well. I said, "Man, I'd like you to have a good fiddler in my band." So got him. And typically the fiddle player and the steel guitar player play next to each other. But I said, I ain't doing that. I said, "I want you to play right next to me." So while I was playing bass, I could see how he got those notes on that instrument. So it's kind of interesting. We sit in that same kind of position again, where I get to look over your shoulder. And been having a fun time with this instrument. It's a very instrument that you can really be expressive with, and it's a lot of fun. And it's one of those things that you learn forever on how to play it.
Since we have a lot of bluegrass pickers in here, and some of you just came in later, we kind of took a survey of how many fiddlers we had and how many were country and how many were bluegrass or whatnot. I was thinking, like, maybe y'all could talk a little bit about the difference between bluegrass and country and Cajun fiddling. I'm from North Louisiana, and we play a lot of country, old-time country, western swing, and maybe bluegrass up there, but not many Cajun fiddlers up there. So maybe if y'all could address something like what these people who are here from bluegrass land, what they would have to do to start picking up Cajun. Is it just about the repertoire, the songs, or is it more about the technique?
I think it's both. It's the repertoire is a little. Cajun music has a standard repertoire, and it's expanding. It's getting bigger all the time. Bluegrass has a certain standard repertoire. I played some bluegrass before I played Cajun, and I found that some of the licks that you play, some of the slurs you play are a little that you take a little more time to do it. In Cajun music, a little swampy. For example, Jolie Blonde. You want to take a little more time to get into that slur, and it's the same, with a song like. Port Arthur blues. And you know, you do slurs like that in bluegrass music, but they don't. They're a little faster.
Do y'all know how to do slurs? Does everybody know how to do the slurs?
Can I ask one question? What are y'all tuned in?
We're standard.
Standard tuner.
Okay, standard tuned.
To me, the difference in Cajun fiddling and every other kind of fiddling I can find is Cajun fiddling is full of Caribbean rhythm.
Yep.
Louisiana's the northern corner, South Louisiana is the northern corner of the Caribbean culture. We had a lot of people came here from Cuba and from Haiti, and when the Acadians got here, they assimilated all those sounds. So if you listen to a Cajun band, I want y'all to listen for this. It's a rhythm that goes. That's called tercio. That's the Cuban rhythm. That's what New Orleans piano players play with their left hand. Well, Cajun fiddlers, especially the style I play, like a Dewey Balfa style, they'll go, instead of going, they'll go. So that syncopation in that, on the end of two, 1 and 2 and, da da, 1 and 2 and, da da, is to me this defining thing. It's the phrasing of Cajun music. So if I go.
Special.
So you just heard all four of us playing that rhythm. That's that Caribbean sound. That's what Louisiana, that's what Cajun music has. It's not found in any other fiddle play. And whenever I go to a place like Nova Scotia or something, and I start playing that, every head in the green room turns, because they always play, you know, on the beat. You know, everything's on the beat. You ask them to clap on the 2 and 4, and they can't do it. You know, they cannot. So that's to me is the big difference.
Now, we had a quadruple fiddles going on there. Now, we've heard of twin fiddles. Were any of you playing, what, harmony? What was going on there? How did y'all know what you were doing?
Well, because one foundational thing that happens with Cajun music is seconding, and that's what we do is somebody plays melody, and then a musician, another fiddler will play chords behind it, usually below, on the low chords.
Rhythm.
Yeah, and rhythm, and a lot of times on two-step, it's that that Caribbean rhythm they're talking about, or it might be, or that you've often heard is Cajun fiddling, but that's another type of rhythm. But you're playing some kind of rhythm that goes with the melody, or you're playing a harmony either above it or below it. But usually the foundational thing is that chord below it, and that's called seconding.
And the fundamental part of all of this is that this music was played to dance to. So you provide a strong rhythm with it, then everybody can be stepping on the same beat. And so that's why when you hear fiddle players around here play, it's not a lot of us always playing melodies. We're doing a lot more rhythm than everything else, because that's the foundation that gets people dancing. When people's dancing, they're having a good time. They're having a good time, they come watch you play again. If they come watch you play again, you make more money. So it's all like that.
When Cajun music first started, even before the accordion, there were two fiddle players at least. You play one playing the melody and the other playing the second fiddle, the rhythm.
Is that how the name twin fiddle started?
We're talking about, this is not really twin fiddling I'm talking about. We're still talking about seconding, playing chords and rhythm behind the melody. And twin fiddle is more like parallel harmony. And that's when, if the melody note happens to be this here, right? There are two other notes that harmonize with it, right? And usually the fiddler who's playing the twin part, the harmony, will play the next harmonizing note above. So if the melody's playing here, you would play. And so it's parallel. Let's just walk up the scale in harmony.
Yeah.
Like that, you see? All she's doing is doing the same thing I'm doing, but a third above. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Yeah. Does that make sense? That's how you do twin fiddle.
By the way, there's a twin fiddle competition at the state fiddling contest this afternoon at 1. If anybody's up for that, I think.
Well, now y'all all know how to do it, so you can just go sign up.
Sign up. You can walk in and sign up before 1 o'clock today over in Miguel Hall. I think some of y'all are going to enter, maybe? Did I
It could happen.
I heard a rumor. I don't know if it's true. Terry, you going to do that?
Over there?
Rumors are rumors.
Drive there from here?
Yeah, pretty much. There's a shuttle. I'm not sure. I think there's a shuttle from the front. Ask at the front desk about the shuttle to Miguel. It'll last.
Oh, it's in a different building.
It's in a different building. They used to have it on the main floor here.
And it's
but
on campus, Miguel?
It is on campus. It's Miguel Hall. It's in the Fine Arts Building.
Okay.
And I have some directions.
Okay. Is it walking distance? I mean, I know it's hot
I
out
would
there.
take a car.
Okay.
Or a shuttle.
Yards right up there.
Okay. All right. Could happen.
And we also have a non-championship category and a championship category. So if you don't want to compete for the big prizes and you're just beginning, you can compete in the non-championship category.
Ooh, I want to do that.
Yeah, I'm sure you would probably win that one too.
I thought it wasn't
And
competition.
it doesn't matter, professional, non-professional, it doesn't matter. Beginners to advanced, every level. But you know, I don't know, the fiddle contest participation has died down a little bit. And
that's surprising.
And I don't know, we lost a lot of our older fiddlers. We lost Red Beavers this past
I'm sorry.
a few months ago. He used to play a lot in contest fiddle. But how do Cajun musicians feel about contests? I don't really see a lot of them turning out for this.
Real quick, every Cajun fiddler is the best in the world. They try to sound like me, they can't do it.
I'm in amazement of how good a lot of the Cajun fiddlers are. You know, how they can do chords and play all these wonderful tunes. But you know, is Zach here? Oh man, y'all are fantastic. You guys were fantastic. You know. Mm-hmm. And a lot of it's how, the ability to play the melody and play in the tradition and play with your heart, as well as your fingers being in tune.
You ever been in a contest, Terry?
Never have, but I understand I'm going to have to do that today. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Well, we'll see what we can do. We never. I mean, there are Cajun fiddle contests, but I haven't been in one in about 30 years.
Are there more Cajun two-chord songs than there are regular bluegrass songs? I know a lot of
Yeah.
Cajun, I listen to it, it's two chords. Bluegrass is three, G, C, and D, G, C, and D, and a lot of Cajuns are like A, D, A, D, and is that true, or am I just thinking that?
Yes and no.
Yes and no.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of Cajun two-chord songs. I mean, you know, sometimes I'll start with a band, you know, and it might be like a two-chord song, say like Creole Stomp. You know, and that's all those fancy notes, and it's just a two-chord song. But, you know, Cajun musicians, Cajun songwriters are gonna expand into 3 chords and 4 and 5. You know, like there's a new song that's, for example, called South Crowley Waltz, which is really just a song like Kaplan Waltz, but they added a few more chords. So and there's so much more these days.
So what kind of questions do you guys were trying to learn? What kind of things do y'all want to know about this? What about the bowing? Aren't there different styles of bowing?
Yes.
You want to talk a little bit about the bowing?
Mm-hmm. Well,
I want to hear from the guy on the end, or Ken. Those guys are too quiet.
mm-hmm.
Actually, you have a concept on that? I really don't think about bowing as a saying, okay, here's one style versus another style versus another style. You know, there's sometimes I'm just dying to make sure I get to the next note without fumbling the darn thing. But for the most part, you know, it's kind of like just instinctive. You know, we've heard this stuff all our lives. We played for a long time, and it may well be that we're doing a whole bunch of different things going from one place to the other. And I find that pretty fun, but it would have been nice had I learned from somebody to be able to get some proper structure on the front end, because I've really just been kind of flying by the seat of my pants for 30 years doing this.
But you know, when you bow, you kind of don't think about it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I have a tendency to think too much sometimes, but to go from one style to another. Go ahead.
Are there more double stops in Cajun music than?
Can we still keep talking about bowing for a little while? 'Cause I got
That's
something.
what that was, bowing, double stops. Or?
No, double stops is over here, left hand.
Well, I can once.
Yeah.
Okay. One of the things I teach a lot, so I have to think about, you know, and I end up with people slurring Cajun music a whole lot. You know, and I'm like, well, there's no texture there. You need to have some grit in that. You know, it's kind of mushy, you know? And I think when people like who've been playing all their lives and never actually thought about it, they are instinctually doing what they've always heard, which is putting a certain amount of texture in. So I've noticed a player like Huval will slur certain notes, but most of the time play single notes. Because Cajun music is generally played slower than bluegrass or old-time music. They'll slur more. It sounds okay when it's that fast, but if you slow it down, it just sounds mushy to me, you know, unless you put some texture to it. It's like you know, you see all that I'm doing, and once in a while there's a little slur in there. There's a certain amount of texture you want to have, and people like Terry have heard that all their lives, and they bow in such a way that they get the sound they want without even thinking about it. And the double stops, yes. Oh yeah, that's just bowing on 2 strings at one time.
Correct.
And I think that generally, yeah, Cajun has more double stops, but even some Cajun styles are more single note. I'm trying to think of you know, like fiddlers like Sleepy Hoffpower who tended to play more single notes, or even Tony Thibodeau would play double stops, you know, to color it in the beginning, and then it would go, it would play a real fast lick, and where it doesn't make any sense to double stop it. You know, like for example, Hicks Wagon Wheel Special, a 2-chord song. You know, I start out with a nice double stop to let people know I'm here, and then yeah, because it makes a little sense, and then but when you get to the E string, it doesn't make sense to, yeah, so you need to play that single note. And then, you know, there's like Sleepy Hoffpower was well known for doing the Cajun polka, which was pretty, which I think he might have got it from Harry Schultz. So, but that's kind of like a country polka, a schottish, but they called it the Cajun polka, and that's very kind of single note kind of thing. You know, I learned it from Tony in A, but I think Sleepy played it in G. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I usually wait for the long notes to double stop.
Yeah.
I usually go. I keep the short notes, because to me, if too much of that starts to sound like a sawmill, it's not how I want to sound, and that's more of a personal thing, you know.
Yeah, and waltzes, you know, you sometimes want to play them pretty, so you want to emphasize the pretty stuff, you know, like Kaplan waltz. So. So that's pretty much like mostly single note kind of stuff, but you're emphasizing the pretty, and just like in just your regular waltzes in country style fiddling, you know, you have an element of that in Cajun music as well. Other thoughts? I know y'all got an approach too. You know, on some of these waltzes and some of the pretty stuff.
And like I said, it's what comes natural.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah.
know, it's what you hear in your mind, and you try to bring it to the strings.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, one thing that hadn't been brought up, a lot of bluegrass songs, Cajun songs have been adapted from bluegrass songs. In the Pines.
In the Pines, yeah.
There's several. So if you listen real closely to some of the, if you do listen to Cajun songs, you'll hear some bluegrass songs in there, and how the Cajun style of fiddling or dobro has taken that Cajun flavor from that bluegrass tune. You could sit here and probably name several.
One of the really well-known Cajun songs is a song called Tous les Soirs, which I think it might have come from a country song, a much faster song called How About You. My conscience is clear. How about you?
Every night.
Every night. Yeah. You know? And then the Cajuns just slowed it down. Played Tous les soirs, dans soleil presque mon Jean Glatois, je peux pas t'oublier. And you know, they slowed it down quite a bit. Yeah. We slow it down and play it really, and just milk it for what it's worth.
I think we're all on the same page. We just don't know it yet.
Yeah,
The more we look into it and think it through, we're really in the same book.
Mm-hmm.
We're looking for the same page.
Mm-hmm.
How many of you actually read music, or did you learn to play by ear? Maybe kind of tell them how you learned, technically. So, and what you would advise them to do if they're trying to learn.
I learned to play by ear. I learned by listening. I didn't have a teacher at all until I was in my late 30s. My first teacher was Huval.
Mm-hmm.
And but I learned to read music in high school band, playing the French horn. But I don't read as a practical. It just slows me down.
Mm-hmm.
I'd rather just listen to it and play it.
Mm-hmm. I studied classical violin and I learned how to read and all, but everything I learned on fiddle and it's been, from either at jams, listening at jams, or listening to records, or listening to people who taught me stuff along the way. Tony Thibodeau would sit down with me and show me a few things and how he played the certain licks that he played. But mostly for me it's been by ear and by records. And I use music, sometimes I'll transcribe it just to get an idea about what somebody's playing, but the music is not on the paper, the music is here. Always.
Yeah, I think a lot of this stuff is inspiration. And that's what's nice about the fiddle is that you can put a lot of emotion into it. Not say you can't do it on a fretted instrument, but it doesn't provide the smoothness that you can get out of it. And I think one of the things that really saved Cajun music, fiddle and accordion, was when New Lots opened in Breaux Bridge. It's my hometown. And before then, we could, as children, we could not see people play this music because there was no big festivals. There was no events that we could go to that we could see somebody actually playing a fiddle. And the first time I ever saw a person play a fiddle live, other than TV, I was like 17 or 18 years old. It seemed kind of so odd, but and you could hardly ever go to a place to watch it because we were kids, and at those times we were enforcing all the laws. So when New Lots opened in Breaux Bridge, Carrot Brute had this idea of having Cajun music played while people were eating. So the kids got to learn it. And now we've got, so many people picking this stuff up. So it's really exciting to see it because I think short of that, it would ultimately just died off because it was not fitting the cultural elements that were into place at the time, the Beatles and the rock and roll and all that kind of stuff. So it's really wonderful, at least from where I was. I saw it being something really, really special. Now, Ken being from Church Point, I'm not sure they ever knew there was something other kind of music being played.
No.
I think,
we never knew it was dying out.
Yeah.
It was never. We played every weekend. Never had, it was a regular.
You played in a dance hall?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Dance club, right?
Mm-hmm.
With wedding dances and birthdays.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
It never made the news that Cajun music might die out. At least to a 16-year-old.
Yeah.
Or 17.
It was everywhere. It was.
It was everywhere that we knew.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't go out very far. We didn't leave town very much.
Yeah.
Didn't have too many TV stations.
So.
I have students ask me if I can write out a tune for them, and I usually turn them down. Say you could sell a book. You can make a book on Cajun music, and it's like, there's so many things in the music that you can't put on a page. So if somebody just played it and read it, it wouldn't sound like Cajun music. If you take a waltz like the prison bars. those, you know, you're sliding up, you're sliding down. Thank you. And there's just no way to put that on a page. And if someone was reading that, they would probably go.
Yeah.
And look what you've lost, you know. That's why I don't bother to write it out.
It helps to immerse yourself into it and read it. You had a question?
I did. So you mentioned a couple of times about different styles in Cajun music. Are you referring to like the different types of tunes, like the waltz, the polka? You mentioned Creole and stuff. Or are you referring to other like more regional or just stylistic things that you can do with your tunes?
There's regional styles, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So what are some of the differences in the?
Well, you take a tune like what I just played. That waltz was played by Huval, who came from Grand Louis, which is just west of Mamou, out there in the prairies. And then there's another fiddle player that I admire a lot named Boris Connor. And a waltz of his would sound more like this. You know, looked at real light, bright, uplifting sound. Not this anguished, oh my God, I think I'm going to kill myself waltz, you know? But, so there's a lot of differences like that. And sometimes I wonder if it's regional, sometimes I wonder if it's just personalities. But, you know, I have heard a few other fiddlers that come from Dewey's area that have similar sound. I was asked at a recording session, we were doing a commercial, and the producer said, "That's too sad."
Oh.
And so I took it again. He said, "It's still too sad." I'm sorry, that's how I was taught how to play.
Southwest Louisiana, you see some swing influences on those.
Oh yeah.
Rufus Thibodeau.
Rufus Thibodeau, yeah.
That one, they have a little swing influence.
Oh yeah. Oh.
You can dance.
Thank you,
All
sir.
right.
You dance hall style too.
Yeah, definitely dance hall. I learned how to play in the dance hall. Yeah.
Thank y'all very much.
All right. All right. Other questions? So what should we do from here?
Well, we've got people with fiddles. I'm wondering what they would like to know. I think maybe they're at different stages of their learning, maybe. Maybe some are actually accomplished fiddlers. I'm not sure if they're just playing a different style. I think we've got about 5 or 8 minutes left, and so now would be a good time for all of you who watch your fiddles to ask questions.
Yes.
What was the first fiddle song you'd ever learned?
Question was, what's the first fiddle song you ever learned?
For me, it was boiling cabbage down, you know. And my brother kind of played it kind of a Cajun-y kind of way, you know. You know, it was not quite as bluegrassy, you know. And then I had to learn the fancy stuff later.
That was one of the earliest songs my teacher had taught me to, except we did it, it was just the double strings.
Yeah. Yeah, when I teach my students or my beginners, I'll teach them, you know, the shuffle style, and then I want them to, when they've been along a few years, I want them to learn some chords. You know, seconding. You know, when I kind of got into seconding in Cajun music through bluegrass because I had a book on bluegrass fiddle that taught about various chords in the keys. You know, like in D. And so you had this basic chord right here. And then I found out that I could up it in like an A. You know, like in Maiden's Prayer, that was about the second song I ever learned. And then you could actually do chords. And so I learned. I knew I already had these chords, but I had to learn how to play them and make them sound Cajun. Yeah, and so you can do that too.
Can you do that?
Not right now.
But just about any melody you can play some kind of chord around.
I think the key to all this is you got to do what inspires you. There's something there that, if there's something you like that kind of turns you on, then you try and work in that direction. You know, because that's going to give you the greatest fulfillment in your heart. You know, if you're doing something just to go through the mechanics of it all, it's kind of hard to get a big drive on it. But even though it might be a prudent thing to do, it might be a good thing to do because you learn the right things. But every now and then you just got to let go and just have fun with it and do what makes you feel good. And when you do that, it motivates you to do even better things.
That's really interesting you brought that up, and I often come at it from another direction. I got people come to and say, show me how to do this. And I'm like, okay, you got an hour, and I'll show them how to do that. But they can't figure out how to put the feeling into it, you know? And that's really important. Really important to put some, you know, some soul into it.
That's it.
It's hard to teach.
Yeah, I can teach technique from the sound till the cows come home, but but in the end, it's something. There's got to be something that moves you, that's more than just the technique. Technique's important, but there's more. There's another dimension.
We're late coming in. We're talking with David Greely, Gina Forsyth, Ken Duggan, and Terry Huval, who are all Cajun fiddlers, and they played a wonderful piece with 4 fiddles earlier. And maybe to close this, would y'all like to do another
Y'all pick something. You know, you'll have that structure in your head as to what kind of things would work together. I'm not sure I would come up with that.
Do we all play,
We played Legacy Special.
do we all play Don't Scott A?
Don't Scott
The Dennis McGee tune?
So, yeah. Okay, have you done it before?
Pick one. Pick one.
Don't Scott it?
Play the bass song.
or On Chomo Pa, you know. So,
Tizzle Ball or something.
It's a good old Cajun standard. You want to start that?
Let's let Terry start this.
Yeah, let's do it.
And they can chime in if they know it, right?
All right.